Alright, what's good? What's good? It's your boy Voltron Cash Click, also known as Voltron Digital. Feel free to subscribe to the channel below. So on one side or the other, Voltron Digital on Twitter as well. If any questions, concerns, inquiries, suggestions, Voltron Digital at Gmail or Voltron Digital 2015 at gmail.com. That's VOLTRONDIGITAL 2015 at gmail.com. I am the creator of the Murder for Melanin video that was released roughly about a week ago. What that video was basically designed to do was to provide direct statistics on how abortion is affecting the African American community, and to provide a little backdrop information about a potential hidden agenda that may be present in there as well. To kind of get started, the video really gave like numbers. That's really the purpose of it, because it's hard to argue against numbers. They say numbers don't lie. So when you take into consideration that for every 1,000 births, there are 444 African-American abortions, that's big. When you take into consideration that we only represent about 12% of the total population, but we account for the highest percentage of abortions in the entire country, then, you know, that's something to think about. When you take into consideration that since abortion was legalized back in 1973, we've had roughly around 17 million abortions, but we only count for 37 million people in the country present today. You know, stuff like that, little small information, you know, to kind of, you know, get the brain working or get the wheels churning, you know, to a certain extent. But to go a little bit further and beyond with that information, you know, how they originally pushed the idea of abortion to us was they were giving females the ability to choose, you know, to give them the option to either give birth or not to legally, you know, based on whatever their decision is, you know, inconvenience, you know, finances, you know, for whatever potential reason that they may have, you know, if they choose not to have it, then they are not legally liable for that. And that's perfectly fine. You know, I don't believe in, you know, telling a person they can or they cannot do anything. You know, you have your own life to control, so who are you to control someone else's? You know, that's perfectly fine. I understand that, and that's cool. But what I'm referring to is how that idea has a secondary agenda behind it that's been pushed on us. Not was, but is, even to this day, being pushed on us. Now, again, you know, a company such as like Planned Parenthood, and this comes directly from, you know, the most verified sources you can find. You know, so do your own research. You know, for anything that I say, you don't want to take it at face value. You question it, even just a little bit. Do your own research. Everything that I'm providing is going to be publicly available. So this is the case with, just like I went and found it, you could type in 3 words on Google or Yahoo and you can get the same thing. Right. Okay. And, you know, basically, they push the idea on us that, you know, they want to allow females to choose. And that's cool. But what they didn't tell you is they were using it to eliminate us. Not quick, but slowly but surely over time. Now, I'll tell you how. A company such as Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is only one entity itself. It does not include any state facilities. It does not include any other companies or entities that may be similar to Planned Parenthood that may carry out some of the same procedures. This is just Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood in a year's time is responsible for 90,000 African American deaths or abortions. Now, the reason why I say deaths is because these are potential lives that could have lived, which means they are also potential soldiers for what eventually may be an African American army. So when you think about that, you know, that's 90,000 cut right there. Planned Parenthood, not including state facilities, anything else outside of Planned Parenthood that also, you know, does the abortion procedure. Just Planned Parenthood. So that's 90K right there. Now I have Sarah Palin and I have the gentleman from the 700 Club, both on live television with no particular motivation for saying this live on the air. I have direct information from the New York Times and the Washington Post advising the same thing. How is it that African Americans are completely oblivious to this. Many of you, this is probably your first time even hearing this. And if it isn't, you know what I'm saying, it's a case where you might have acquired the knowledge and you might even be aware, but just how ready are you to make any type of real changes within your community? To be real. All right, so to take a step back, Planned Parenthood has about 700 locations in the U.S. 80% of them are located within miles radius of African American communities. Coincidence? Possibly. Design? More than likely. Just saying. You don't, in terms of a business, you don't place a business in an area that is not going to be productive. It just doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. For anybody who has any working knowledge, of it, that's not smart business. That's not smart planning as far as trying to make a successful dollar. Right. So with that being the case, you take into consideration for a company like Planned Parenthood, its origins. Where did it come from? Okay. Planned Parenthood, its predecessor came from a lady referred to as Margaret Sanger. This lady is also responsible for birth control to a certain extent. She didn't create birth control, but she is a key component in it existing and being present in today's society. Same thing with abortions. This lady is revered as being one of the biggest and most important women's rights activists of the 20th century. I mean, this is all public knowledge. You can go check it out and look at it. But this lady is also a self-confessed eugenist. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with, with what a eugenist is a person who has the belief that in order for the human race to continue to thrive, it makes sense to eliminate the lesser or weaker races from the gene pool. All right. So with that being the case, this is the same person who created birth control and abortion, but at the same time, she has the belief that we need to eliminate the lesser or weaker races. This is also the same lady who has documented letters. I mean, we have this is documented. Right now, somebody has a copy of this lady's letter that was written to Dr. Gable, basically advising that they don't want the African American race to know that they're attempting to exterminate them. She even went so far as to say how they needed to go out and hire some successful African American ministers to push this idea, etc., etc. Now, I ain't really want to get into it, but since we're on the topic, my personal opinion, the person that they had in mind for that job was Martin Luther King. Now, as far as how far he went with advocating abortion, etc., etc., we ain't gonna get into all that, and we definitely ain't gonna defamate my man's character. So, at the end of the day, we just gonna say she had the idea to do that, and Martin Luther King did spend some time with President Lyndon B. Johnson potentially discussing this stuff. So we're just gonna leave it there. We ain't gonna go no further than that on Dr. Martin Luther King. But this lady was the creator, to a certain extent, of Planned Parenthood. So the ideals that was instilled in her original company, of course, follow right along to this new one as well. Right. And you'll get evidence of that when you watch the secondary video, the actual Murder for Melanin video, and it gives direct phone calls in which we got an individual calling up there and speaking directly to the representatives. And you should hear the type of reaction and response to the things that he's saying, which should give you the general idea that even if these people aren't racist, they certainly don't seem to be concerned about anything moral. Anything that's considered to be humane, or moral, that doesn't seem to factor into that. You know what I'm saying? As far as African Americans anyway. Now, had this man been up there calling and saying these things about Caucasians or, any other race for that matter, I'm not sure what type of response he would have got. But the response he got in direct relation to us was clear. Okay? So let's just take a step back from Margaret Sanger. Again, Margaret Sanger, creator of, birth control to a certain extent, or advocate, key component of birth control, key component of abortion. Also, at the same time, a recognized eugenist who wanted to eliminate black people. Now, I got My man from the 700 Club, can't think of this man's name, but he's been on television for probably 30 years at this point. This is coming from this man's mouth himself. And this, again, is public information. So Google it. Google Margaret Sanger. Or put Margaret Sanger and blacks. Put that, and I promise you, you're going to find a plethora of information that's just undeniable. I don't care how you want to, portray it. It's just undeniable. All right? So let's take a step back from necessarily just Planned Parenthood, which again, 90,000 alone. Doesn't include state facilities, etc. Just Planned Parenthood. So with that being the case, we're looking at the potential that millions upon millions and millions of African Americans are being killed by abortion more than heart disease, diabetes, AIDS, violence, police brutality, cancer, anything else you could possibly, misadventure, anything you could think of. Abortion kills more than all of those things put together per year. All right, so let's just go ahead and get that out the way. That's clear. Abortion kills more African Americans per year than anything else. Boom. All right, so that covers that part. Now, let's dig into the fact that Planned Parenthood is basically a component of all this. It's not the total picture because it's going further than that. No offense to the LGBT community, but we're not having sex anymore. What I mean by that is males, based on certain standards of today's society, are a lot more prone to deal with the same gender, males. Same thing with females. And if males are sleeping with nothing but males and females are sleeping with nothing but females, we aren't reproducing, which means we aren't having any babies. And of course, if we don't have any babies, then we don't survive. We certainly won't thrive. Of course, the weaker our numbers get, eventually we're going to thrive less and less and less because we become less and less important to the U.S. economy, therefore also becoming less and less important to the U.S. in general. So with that being the case, we're not having sex because of, homosexuality. Again, no offense to the LGBT community, but it's the truth. We're not having sex, so you're killing us that way. And then when we do have sex and the female gets pregnant, they're aborting them. That's killing us another way. And then, of course, we all have the understanding of the plight of the black man, or we all have heard of it, in which there's a system designed to incarcerate us all. You know what I'm saying? So for those who make it into adulthood, they're basically ushered in like cattle. All right? So when you think about that, and you watch the television, and you see about all these kids being shot down in the street, and all these social and economic injustices, black people, this, black people, that, you hear all these stories, right? So to a certain extent, by now, even if you don't want to take in consideration that there's a potential war, you should at least understand that the situation for African American is potentially considerably different from anybody else in this country. So let's just take in consideration that war is real. For those of you who are aware of anything beyond what you just see and read and, actually care enough about your race, your culture, your kids and their future, for those of you who actually fall into that category, why is it that we don't have any type of activists, or why don't we have any athletes, entertainers, etc., with any type of pull or power getting out here and presenting this information to you? You don't see Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I'm going to use them as an example because right now the world is going crazy over this lemonade thing. Even Beyonce, great, she got up there, did the formation thing at the Super Bowl as far as, celebrating the existence of the Black Panther Party, etc., etc. That's all cool. But stuff like this, the nitty gritty, the real stuff, why you don't really see any of these athletes and entertainers spending any of their precious time on this kind of stuff, knowing that the power of their voice carries more strength than anything or anybody else. If let's just say Drake, if Drake or Kanye or somebody like that was to get up there and take that role, you know, their legacy, their existence will be bigger than any rap song or any, you know, track they could drop. LeBron James, you know, he might win 4 more titles in his career for all we know. That still wouldn't equal out or be as big as him actually addressing his community and him standing up to be an activist. That impact that he could potentially have would be insurmountable. It wouldn't be a case where it would be anybody potentially bigger than him if he were to make that decision. But there's a chance that they may want to, but they simply can't due to their business associations and their their affiliations with these people or that company. You know, if it's a chance by them stepping out is gonna mess up their own money, they're not willing to take that chance because, you know, that's just how we are. You know, my culture is important, but my culture ain't more important than me. It ain't more important than my money. So I'm not going, you know, and that's cool. But when you sit up here and you idolize and you think about, you know, the person that you really admire and look up the most to, just think about what they've done for your kind and for your people. But again, you know, that's getting all off topic, man. We can go on and on for days, and we will have more videos because we're going to get into all of that, you know, about how the private prison systems are affecting, you know, the laws that we live under, you know, how the private prison system has been used in the music industry, you know, to basically, you know, do certain things and to a certain extent subconsciously program us certain ways, etc., etc. We're going to get into all of that, you know, in the next couple of videos, etc., etc. So, you know, you have any suggestions, again, contact me, Voltron Digital 2015 at gmail.com for any suggestions. We'll definitely get on it, see if we can dig up, etc. But go ahead and wrap this up, man. The abortion movement, man, is being used to kill us. They're killing us off. All right? Like I said, for every 1,000 abortions, 400, you know, for every 1,000 births, 444 abortions. You know, highest percentage of abortions out of all ethnic groups in the country. You know, the fact that, you know, we probably would be double what we are now had them 17 million been potentially born, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And how they get our females to fall into this trap to a certain extent is by allowing them to think that they're incapable of being able to take care of these children. My grandmother, your grandmother probably had, I don't know, or great grandmother for you, because I have older parents, but your great-great-grandparents, my grandparents, probably had, 10, 12 kids? They weren't making the kind of money that we're able to make today. They didn't have the positions available for black people then that they have now. The type of financial situations that we're able to put ourselves into at this day and age compared to that one is like, you know, it's two different things. But magically, they were able to take care for 10, 12, 15 children per family. But females nowadays are being trained on number one, you know, oh, well, this, for any particular reason, you don't want to have this child, boop. And instead of it being something that you would think when they created it in their mind and saying this is something that's going to help black people, they were using it the opposite way. Like I said, man, you want to cut off numbers, you know, you want to save some dollars on Medicaid, on food stamps, WIC, you know, government assistance in general, just by simply cutting us off. They're saving millions and millions of dollars for all these children not being born. That's enough motivation for them to do it right there. And then two, if I could turn around and make $350 off a gram of melanin from that fetus that you just aborted, I'm going to do that too. Because, of course, we all know fetal tissue, fetal research is now becoming a case where it's public as far as it being a market. That's public now. We don't know how long they've been doing this. So you got to take in consideration that you got a company like Pepsi who will hire a contracted company who specializes in flavoring that uses fetal tissue. You know, fetal research, stem cell research. All of this stuff right here, all of this stuff is worth millions, billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. All right. So when you think about that, that's even more motivation for them to do it, because then they can make more money. Where this is supposed to be a capitalist country, with to a certain extent, we're a country but a company at the same time. Every company has a loss prevention program. Every single successful company has a loss prevention program. So they figure out ways to cut losses, to keep from losing money this way. And then they figure out alternative ways to make money elsewhere. Getting back on that abortion for the melanin, we're talking $350 per gram. Now, I don't know if you really understand what melanin is, but from what I've been instructed on, melanin is basically what determines the tone or darkness of your skin. So theoretically, the darker the person, the higher concentration of melanin present in that person. Now, if melanin is worth $350 a gram, and the only source of melanin is human tissue, and we are the darkest, which means we have the highest concentration of it, where do you think they would get this from? For one, what are you using it for to make it worth $350 a gram? Not only is it worth $350 a gram, what are you using it for? But where would you possibly be getting it from? Because I ain't never seen no commercial. I've seen commercials for donating blood. I've seen commercials for donating plasma. I ain't never seen no commercial for donating melanin. So where are you getting it from? You're not cutting niggas up on the street unless some of these urban or larger cities, and you be handing up, the homeless population. They might be taking a few people off the streets and, taking them organs. A few, people die. Contracts with some of these funeral directors or morgues and stuff like that, and they might be selling these organs. But as a whole, for this to be worth $350 a gram, I'm gonna figure out multiple ways to try to cash in on that. What are they doing with these fetuses after they're aborted? They're not giving them back to the mom. They're not putting them in some type of storage facility. They're not throwing them outside with the trash. So where are these aborted fetuses going? These aborted fetuses are being turned into checks, because at $350 a gram, there are 448 grams in a pound. So $350 for a gram, and we're talking about I got 448 grams of this. We're looking at $156,000, $156,000 and some change for just a pound of this shit. That's more than gold, platinum, and at this point, I'm pretty sure that's bigger than oil. So when you think about, when you get a chance to sit down and you think about this information that I'm providing, I want you to look at it from both aspects. If you're a person who are what I want to call socially aware of the situation for African Americans, then I want you to look at that. I want you to look at Margaret Sanger. I want you to look at Planned Parenthood. I want you to look at, the fact that, they would be, saving dollars by eliminating us from welfare and from Medicaid and from food stamps and WIC and any other type of government assistance they got available. I want you to think about that. But then for those of you who are what I want to refer to as skeptics, it's always somebody claiming that somebody trying to do something to black people. It's the black people doing it to themselves and what. And by the way, that train of thought that you having, you've been programmed to do that. Over time. You may not realize it. Even myself, I'm programmed to a certain extent and I don't even realize it. But it's up to you to become conscious of what's going on. Because if we're at 12% now, with the information I just told you on them cutting us because we aren't having sex due to homosexuality, them cutting us from abortion, and them cutting the males out of the home through incarceration, If we're at 12% now in 100 years, we might be as low as 2%. And if you think they don't care nothing about us now, what you think it's going to be like at 2%? Right. So, like I said, man, kind of get back on the point I was making a moment ago. For those of you who, want to take the conspiracy, who are socially aware of the situation, and the word conspiracy don't throw you off or turn you off of, an idea or a suggestion somebody bringing to you, then I want you to check that out. Do your research. Get on Google. Get on Yahoo. Go to the library. Whatever you got to do, but obtain that information. You have enough time to do it in your daily schedule. You have enough time. Even if you only do a little bit here and a little bit there, it's worth it. Because this is something that's going to affect your kids later on. All right? And even if you don't have children, you got little cousins, you got little nieces and nephews, little sisters and brothers, etc. Period. You have a generation of your own bloodline that's going to exist on this planet. And I would like to think you care enough or you give a damn enough to where you want to see them excel or do as well as they possibly can. Right? Right. Call yourself real. Okay. So, back to the part for the person who are what I refer to as skeptics, a person who does not want to accept the idea that it's possible that, certain, things are in place to affect us adversely. Even if you don't want to take that into consideration, you consider yourself logical, reasonable, and what you call intelligent. You know how business runs, right? Do you or do you not agree that to a certain extent the United States is designed like a corporation? A corporation has a CEO or president, vice president, etc. on down the line. We got the same thing, But even for those of you who are aware of this, the company is the country is ran like a company. So with that being the case, Kmart, Walmart, Target, every single one of them companies have a loss prevention program, which is designed to keep them from losing money in ways that they can eliminate completely or limit. You cut us from welfare, government assistance, etc. That's millions of dollars saved right there just by them cutting us right there. All right? And then you take into consideration of the dollars that could potentially be made from these fetuses that they aren't incinerating, that they aren't throwing away, that they are not giving back to the mother. And you think about how much money or how much of a check that could be cut off of it. Now, if that isn't motivation, if money isn't motivation or enough motivation to make somebody do something or make certain things be put into action, then I don't know what is. So, again, do your own research. Again, Voltron Cash Click, Voltron Digital. Again, subscribe down here. So on one side or the other to Voltron Digital here on YouTube. Subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter, Voltron Digital as well. Questions, concerns, etc. Voltron Digital 2015 at gmail.com.